Forensic DNA typing is an important crime-fighting tool and has revolutionized the way that law enforcement conducts investigations. Hello, my name is Jean Johnston, and welcome to the Washington State Patrol CODIS Crime Laboratory. In this training DVD, we will highlight the importance of the DNA database and how to properly collect a DNA sample from qualifying offenders.
Stories about the use of DNA evidence to convict offenders or exonerate defendants in criminal cases are frequently in the news. The integrity of that evidence is key to the success of the DNA profiling system. By performing the collection of convicted offender samples correctly, you are helping to ensure the success of the DNA database program for our state. Ultimately, sample integrity depends on you. The kits provided by the Washington State Patrol CODIS Laboratory contain the following components. Gloves. These are used to protect against contamination during the collection process. FTA submission card. The offender information, collector information, and offender's thumbprints and DNA sample all go on this one card. One foam swab used to collect the DNA sample. Moist towelette used to remove ink from the offender's thumbs once they have had their prints taken. Seal used to seal the envelope shut. This seal is used instead of licking the envelope to prevent contamination of the enclosed sample. Now that you have the kit components, you are ready to collect an individual's DNA sample. First, verify the offender's identification with a state-issued ID. It is important that the DNA sample corresponds to the correct offender's information. Fold the card at the perforation, being careful not to tear the flap or expose the pink collection paper. Print clearly when filling out the card. Fill out the offender's state ID number, name, date of birth, gender, and their qualifying offense. For offenders who are required to submit a sample due to sex offender registration, use SOR as the offense. Close the flap and flip the card over to fill in the collector information. It is important that the information on both sides of the submission card is filled out completely and accurately to avoid a backlog in processing at the CODIS laboratory. Turn the card over and collect the offender's thumbprints using an ink pad. Be sure to place the inked thumb straight down on the card. Do not roll the thumb. Give the offender the moist towelette to clean their thumbs. You are now ready to collect the DNA sample. Be sure to avoid talking, sneezing, or coughing over the pink paper when collecting the sample from the offender. If you're taking samples from multiple offenders, be sure to change gloves between collections to avoid cross-contamination of samples. Verify that the offender's mouth is clear of food, gum, tobacco, or other debris. Provide them with water to ensure a clear mouth and to wet their mouth for easier sample collection. Open the swab packaging from the stick end to avoid contaminating the foam paddle. Swab between the cheek and gum on one cheek for 30 seconds using both sides of the paddle. Continue on the other side for another 30 seconds to ensure good DNA collection. Open the flap to expose the pink collection paper and press the swab in one of the circles, rocking it. Flip the swab and repeat the rocking motion on the other circle. Do not rub the swab on the paper. You should see a gradual color change in the paper from pink to white. Once the sample is air dried, close the card and place it in the provided envelope. Seal the back of the envelope with the security seal. Then initial and date the seal. You can apply standard postage to the individual sample or mail several samples together. Mail samples within a week of collection to ensure faster processing and decrease laboratory backlog. On occasion, the CODIS laboratory receives DNA submissions that may have been compromised or are difficult to process. To help prevent this, avoid some of these common collection errors. Do not expose the pink paper until the time of collection. This prevents contamination of the sample. Complete every field on the submission card. Each part is important information that the crime lab needs. Include the degree with the offense. Common abbreviations for offenses are acceptable, but avoid abbreviating your collecting agency, as some share the same initials. To prevent sample mix-up, do not collect multiple offender samples at the same time. When collecting thumbprints, ensure they are good quality. Smudged or partial prints cannot be used to verify the identity of an individual. Wear gloves and change gloves for every offender. This prevents contamination. To ensure the quality of the DNA sample, do not allow an offender to swab themselves. To prevent contamination of the sample, do not lick the envelope. Use only the security seal to seal the envelope. To avoid sample mix-up and contamination, do not put two samples in the same envelope. By avoiding these errors, DNA samples can be processed efficiently and will not require the crime lab to follow up with your institution for clarification or recollection.
How do I know if a sample should be collected?
Using the criminal history record, check the status of the DNA taken flag. If it is set at Y, the CODIS lab already has a DNA sample from the individual. No additional samples should be collected. If the flag is set at N, a DNA sample is needed.
What happens to convicted offender DNA samples when they arrive at the lab?
All paperwork is checked for completeness, and then each sample is assigned a unique laboratory number, which is entered into the lab's administrative database. Errors or omissions on the data card require follow-up, which slows down the administrative process. The sample is then stored until it is ready to be typed by laboratory staff. The final step is to enter the sample into the state-level DNA database and upload the information to the FBI's national DNA database.
What if I don't have a state ID number for a convicted offender?
A state ID is required if available. For juveniles who don't have a SID, JUVIS numbers are acceptable. For adults without a SID, a DOC number, local ID number, or Social Security number may be used. Be sure to write on the data card what type of number is listed.
DNA evidence is a powerful tool in the search for justice. A critical point is the proper collection of DNA samples from convicted offenders. Collectors throughout the state are a very important link to ensure the quality of the database. The Washington State Patrol and the citizens of Washington appreciate your participation and professionalism in helping to make the CODIS program a success.
For kit requests or any questions, contact the Washington State Patrol CODIS Laboratory at confel@wsp.wa.gov or call 206-262-6020.